The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
The Revolution is sponsored by J.S. Johnson, Fidelity Bank Bahamas, Bahamas Bus and Truck, Commonwealth Bank, Ron's Electric Motors, Wendy's, the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas, Burger King, and Ministry of Finance.
And welcome to the Revolution here on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. My name is Juan McCartney. So good to have you with us. Today we're going to attempt, I say attempt because I don't know how far we'll be able to get into it or how successfully, because there's a lot of material to cover and it's a complex issue, to go about understanding a living wage for Bahamians on New Providence and Grand Bahama, and undergirding it is going to be the Government and Public Policy Institute study or report on the Bahamas Living Wages Survey. This was completed last year sometime. You may or may not know that my colleague Shavargo Lang is the director of the Government and Public Policy Institute, and that is his full-time job, one of them anyway. I know a lot of you think that we just wake up and come to a radio show and go back and have cocktails and such is life, but we don't, we all, most of us anyway, have other things going on. I have numerous things going on, and Lang probably does as well. It's dense stuff. I'm going to try to get into it, but before we do that, I want to urge you to pick up a copy of today's Nassau Guardian, and this undergirds what we were speaking of yesterday, and look at the National Review by Guardian Executive Editor Candia Dames, titled Shaky Ground, 4 years in, another win, appears a long shot for the FNM. Now, the title of it may be a bit different from what the substance of the piece conveys. And it really dissects the FNM's first 4 years and what Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has made of the FNM's first 4 years. And in reading that, I also want you to read the editorial in today's Nassau Guardian, and it is a, I know Candia didn't write the editorial, it is a companion, neither did I, it is a companion piece, without knowing it, to her National Review, and today's editorial is titled Excuses, right? So, and that's what we wanted to get to the meat of it yesterday, is the messaging of the Prime Minister, and to a certain extent, the Free National Movement, too, if you look at their a lot of their press releases, they're pretty awful, is that the first thing to come out of your mouth are excuses in governance. And I'm sorry, it's not good enough, all right? It's not good enough to say Dorian is the reason our legislative agenda was hampered. It's not good enough to say the COVID-19 pandemic was the reason our legislative agenda was hampered, because there are enough moving parts in the government to get things done without all these excuses. And so your messaging to me is off. The first thing that comes about, if only it hadn't happened. So explain to me this. What happens if there's another Dorian? Do things still not get done? What happens if there's another Irma, since Irma was an excuse for the first year not having accomplished certain things? What happens if the pandemic doesn't end? anytime soon. Does things still not get done? You have to still move forward with the plan. And you keep saying there's no playbook. But the fact that no playbook exists doesn't excuse you from playing the game poorly. So the excuses must stop. You must start speaking of accomplishment. You must start speaking of what can be done, what will be done. These are excuses that we're hearing for the lack of movement, particularly with the restoration post-Hurricane Dorian, which I have some thoughts on as well. All right? But difficulty is the excuse history never accepts. That was Edward R. Murrow, a great journalist. He said, difficulty is the excuse history never accepts. So we don't care that it's difficult. The Bahamian people do not care that it's difficult. We know it's difficult. We're going through it with you as well. So let's stop with the excuses and let's start figuring out how we move forward with sense. I don't want the first thing out of your mouth to be an excuse. All right? I want the first thing out of your mouth to be, here's how we move forward. Here is the plan. Here is how we execute. All right? So no longer am I accepting, after 4 years, the excuses. So let's just make that clear. So read today's National Review, Shaky Ground, great stuff, and read the editorial in the Nassau Guardian, which lays out that it is not good enough to just blame your shortcomings on things that in actuality do not really account for why you've fallen short. All right? Let's elevate ourselves, starting with the Prime Minister. You can also text us at 422-4796, 422-4796, and you can call us if you want to weigh in on certain things, but that's not an open line concept, but I want to discuss the concept of a living wage for those of you who don't think it's sexy. Someone used to text me, I on my lunch break, you're so boring. Well, then it's going to be boring then, okay? Because we're going to learn, yes? We're going to understand how things work and how things operate. Yes, as boring as that may be, this is what is required to move a nation forward, not magical, fantastical thinking. All right? Understanding, knowledge, grasping concepts of how society functions, and locating the difficulties in the functioning of that society and trying to ameliorate those difficulties, those obstacles. That's how society improves. All right? Not through sitting back and going, man, I want more money. I want to raise. Everything costs too much. All right, let's understand how society works. To the extent you don't want to do that work, you can check something else out. All right. It says, Juan, how are you? Please have Guardian Radio bring back Howard Grant. Thank you. Okay. Sure, done. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Listen. One, you guys are saying the FNM is providing excuses with a major loss in revenue. You think anyone wants to do anything for government without knowing when they will be paid? You're saying, let me see. One, you guys are saying the FNM are providing excuses with a major loss in revenue. You think anyone wants to do anything for government without knowing when they will be paid? I'm not sure what you're asking. I'm not sure what you're asking. So you can ask again. Or a different way. I don't understand what it is that you're asking. So let's go over where we were. All right? So we're going to have some understanding of some things today. All right? We can slap up another day. So, we established a while back, I believe it was last week, what it cost to take care of the least fortunate in society, or at least the social safety nets that undergirds care for the least fortunate in society. And to do that, we looked at our sustainable development goals that we're party to, that we signed on to. 1, no poverty. Number 2 is zero hunger. These are the first 2. And the 10th one is reduced inequality. All right? And we established that the poverty level is $4,247 per person per year. If we look at the average size of the household, it's 1.7 persons, working persons in the household, but 3.5 persons in the household, which means that there are others are kids, right? So you'd have 1.7 persons in the household working. So if we calculate those who are living in poverty, their households would be bringing in an average of $7,290. All right, so $7,300 per year. Now that's in poverty. What does it actually cost to live, though, in the Bahamas? What should the minimal person be making in terms of a living wage? So if you're making $7,300 per year, we have to figure out how the government or society, I use the government in terms of they're the ones who we've selected to bring about the benefit of the Commonwealth of the Bahamian people, how the government, how society bridges that gap. So we bridge that gap through social safety nets. Ultimately, we want to bridge that gap through employment, a robust economy, and a shared responsibility of covering resources that don't take away directly from people's ability to live at a certain standard. All right? Which is, okay, I'll do your text too as well. Good afternoon, McCartney. Please don't bring Howard Grant back, for God's sake. He's too... I mean, I heard Howard was on Levin's show yesterday, right? And he was on my show on Thursday. You know, I love him. I'd love him back. One, that texter is trying to make an excuse for government that has been making excuses. Well, you're making excuses. Let's be clear. And people don't want to hear excuses. And excuses are not a solid campaign message. All right? Plus, it belies logic. This is Juan. What did you think about the debate last night? I could not give you an honest, substantive, critical assessment of the debate because I did not watch it. Well, I watched about maybe 3 minutes of it, and there was a question about mental health. And this is not to knock anybody and that people's feelings get hurt. I think the question was flawed, and I think that the answers, aside from one young gentleman who was speaking for the DNA, who was linking mental health issues among youth to addiction, particularly marijuana addiction, I thought the answers from the contributors, and I didn't see the entire debate, so I can't assess the entire debate, but the answers from the contributors, to me, belied a fundamental lack of understanding of our healthcare system, how our government operates, as well as how different groups in society, even subsets among the youth, are impacted from a mental health perspective, as well as an absence of an understanding of how our economy and government financing works. And I got that from 3 minutes of it, and I don't know how long the debate was or what any of you got from it, but I found it was unhelpful for me, and I did not continue watching. I also note that I don't want to give an inordinate amount of airtime to a debate that we were not allowed to participate in, to the extent that so many other hosts on Guardian Radio have been doing so. Is strange to me, but okay. Juan, you didn't watch the debate. It was historic. It was historic, as in it's the first time in history that, so was when Prime Minister Ingram put a traffic light at the corner of Fox Hill Road and Joe Farrington Road in 2010. That made history as well. I didn't feel the need to go watch it or talk about it ad nauseum. I heard Levin talking about it. Jesus. Listen, you dudes in the FNM, I don't know what y'all did to leave it, right? The wives sound personal, yeah? So I know what y'all do. But y'all should go make amends, you know what I'm saying? Y'all, he got a problem with y'all specifically. So seek to work on that relationship. It pains me to hear our young men at odds in such a fashion. Okay. Good day, McCartney. Dr. Minutes ought to remember and heed his own unforgiving attitude to Mr. Christie when Mr. Christie spoke about the effect of unexpected allocation of resources after Hurricanes Francis, Jean, Wilma, Joaquin, and Matthew. Yes, of course. And, I this thing, we're like, well, hurricane, no one ever dealt with the hurricane, When Ingram was elected in 92, he dealt with Hurricane Andrew, and that was a massive hurricane. And you deal with it. That is what you accept when you accept the helm of any government or any organization. You deal with the challenges, This is it. One. I really want to talk about livable wage. These are some wild attacks y'all said of me. I'm not going to lie to you. It says Levin's mad with... I don't know, dude. I don't know what... I don't know what specifically y'all did to Levin. But it has triggered something fierce. To say the least. It says, Mr. McCartney, you didn't miss anything. The debate was total nonsense. Well, I didn't see it. I don't want to be unfair to them. As I said, the mental health question, I thought the question was flawed. No disrespect. I have a great deal of respect for Anastasia Palacios. I don't know if she composed the question. I have great deal of respect for Chris Curry. Or whomever composed the question, I don't know. I thought the question was flawed, and the answers were a bit bewildering, with the exception, as I said, of a connection one of the young men made to mental health issues and addiction. Okay, but I didn't see it, so I can't assess it. And again, we weren't invited to participate. I'm not mad about that. We just weren't. That's just how it is, that the National University didn't see fit to engage or even ask what is the oldest media institution in this country for any input or anything other than a promotion of its exercise is strange to me, but it is what it is. All right? Now, it says, good afternoon, on a reasonable, livable minimum wage for the Bahamas, in my opinion, should be $1,000 monthly, $250 weekly, $50 daily, $6.25 an hour for a 40-hour work week. Now, let me ask you why you say that. Do you say that because you believe that there should be a level of affordability to where you can live off $1,000 a month? Or do you say that because you believe it is possible to currently live off of $1,000 a month? I'm honestly asking. And we're going to talk a bit about the livable wage. All right? When people heard the phrase livable wage from the States, we're not the States. Well, stick a pin in that. We're going to talk about that. And this is a lot of material to get through, and that's why I said we will get it. It says Levin is mad because he was removed from the NHI board. Okay. Juan, I believe means the country well. He just needs to not appoint some of those people who are currently around him because they are either misguided or lazy. I hope to see some of the new faces in the Senate and House of Assembly be returned and given a portfolio because they make a lot of sense. Okay. It says those young people should be applauded for their bravery, though I concur that they didn't address the questions at hand, but they handled themselves well. I just wish the PLP boy could have left some lotion at the store for the rest of us. Just saying, he should be considerate of other people's ashy legs. Oh, was he lotioning? I didn't see it. Okay? I only watched a portion of it of mental health. I found it unhelpful. I don't believe they were very informed as to what they were being asked. I don't know if they had the questions beforehand or not. And so as to the extent that it was unhelpful to me, I ceased watching. Okay? All right. Livable wage. The University of the Bahamas Government and Public Policy Institute conducted a survey, that was published on September 30th, 2020. The authors of the study are Leslie Archer, Olivia Saunders, Bridget Hogg, Vijaya Perumal, I don't know if I said that right, and Brittany Johnson. All right? Brittany Johnson. Okay? Here's what the survey, I may use that word interchangeably, forgive me if I'm doing so incorrectly, sought to do. Okay? It sought to establish, and let me not put words in these people's mouths, right? So, where am I? I'm missing a page. Where's my page 6? I'm missing my page 6. Oh, here we go. All right. This page 6 is important. So, we've established that someone living in poverty is making $4,247 per year. All right? And the average household would therefore be making $7,300 per year. Now, what is a living wage? Okay? This study was conducted for New Providence and Grand Bahama. The survey's team said our decision to estimate separate living wages signifies a sensitivity and respect for each island's unique socioeconomic composition. First, New Providence reflects an urban environment and houses more than 85% of the nation's population. According to the 2013 National Housing Expenditure Survey, it is overrepresented in the poorest quintile and in the two wealthiest quintile. This suggests that high levels of inequality exist. All right, so let's break that down. And we got to understand what we're talking about here. So what you're looking at is quintiles is they do it in fifths, all right? So quint representing 5, all right? So quintile 1 is the poorest quintile. They separate the population into 5 groups, all right? From poorest to wealthiest. New Providence has the most people in the poorest group, and it also has the most people in the 2 wealthiest groups, which means that there's a stark level of inequality when you look at New Providence. All right? Grand Bahama, on the other hand, reflects more of a suburban jurisdiction, especially when compared to the more rural islands across the Bahamian archipelago. Per the latest Housing Expenditure Survey report, Grand Bahama is underrepresented in the poorest and in the second highest quintile, and is overrepresented in the middle quintiles. All right? Here's what they submit. So in the middle group, you don't see a high level of poverty. The highest number of people in Grand Bahama living in poverty. But you don't see the highest number of people in Grand Bahama are wealthy. All right? They're more middle group. All right? This middle overrepresentation suggests Grand Bahama would benefit greatly from the implementation of a living wage. All right? This suburban-urban-rural difference is an important distinction as it has implications on each island's poverty rate, level of employment, and cost of living. Let's look at it. Cost of living expenses vary across islands due to inter-island transportation expenses. That means the cost of living on each island is largely influenced by the cost of transporting goods and services therein. You following? So the cost of living on the island you're living on varies due to the cost of transporting goods and services. So if you live on Long Island, the cost of living is different because transporting things to and from Long Island is often more difficult than, say, transporting things to and from Grand Bahama or Abaco. All right? The cost of living on New Providence varies because transporting things to New Providence and the cost of goods in New Providence would often be much cheaper, even though a lot of people complain it's still expensive, than getting things elsewhere because most of the goods come through New Providence. All right? So I want you to understand these concepts as we're going. And not that you're not smart or learn it about these things. It's just I want us all to be able to follow along. So for those who don't understand them or are hearing these sorts of concepts for the first time, I want them to be clear. All right? This says, as a nation that imports over 90% of its food and materials, New Providence operates as the hub for related warehousing, administrative, and distribution activity. New Providence receives bulk import orders, breaks them down, and distributes them to the remaining islands, some of which are more than 200 miles away. Transportation costs generated from this distribution process affects the cost of living. For example, on March 11, 2020, the cost of gasoline was estimated at $4.50 on New Providence. But in the nation's southernmost island, Inagua, the cost of gasoline was estimated at $6.50 per gallon. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? Same gas, probably same company, but it costs more to send the stuff to Inagua, and so their cost of living becomes higher. Accordingly, the variation in living expenses across all islands of the Bahamas suggests the inadequacy of proposing to calculate a single living wage for low-wage workers across the entire country. All right? So this is why they did it for New Providence and Grand Bahama, not everywhere. Because everywhere in the Bahamas is not the same because we have these issues because we're archipelagic. This says, therefore, inspired by the International Labor Organization's living wage specialist, Richard Anker's call to respect the differences between urban and rural environments by calculating their living wage estimates separately, this study offers two living wage estimates, one for New Providence and one for Grand Bahama. All right? Now, everyone clear so far on what we did? Not me, I didn't do anything. I'm reading what these people did. we're looking at Grand Bahama and New Providence separately. So we're not saying what's a living wage for the Bahamas, even though we could if they had done that level of study. But this is for New Providence or Grand Bahama specifically because Grand Bahama could probably benefit from it since it has more. It's probably easier to get there because there's less inequality. And because 85% of the population is believed to reside on New Providence. So we can address the needs of the other islands in different ways. All right? Now, this person said a living wage in their estimates is $1,000 per month. Now, that's not realistic in the Bahamas, and we'll get to why. And I asked you to explain to me if you think that's because someone can live on $1,000 a month, or if because you believe the price of things should come down to where you should be able to survive on $1,000 a month. Because there's a difference, all right? But we're operating right now off poverty being $7,300 per household in the Bahamas. All right? Here's what they came up with. They said for New Providence, the gross living wage estimate as of March 2020 was $2,625 per month. I'm going to say that for you one more time. As of March 2020, the gross living wage estimate for New Providence was $2,625 per month. This estimate, the Institute says, considers the Bahamas government's mandatory 3.9% national insurance deduction and the monthly union due rate of $25 for workers in the Bahamas Public Service Union. Without these two deductions, the net living wage salary for New Providence workers is $2,500. All right? So they say net $2,500. All right, I'm making notes so that we can reference these things. All right? Net would be minus NIB minus union dues, even though we know not everybody's in union, but let's just go with it. All right? All right. For Grand Bahama, the gross living wage estimate for March 2020, all right, is $3,550 per month. Now, this says per year. But I'm not certain that they meant per year. I think that they mean per month. All right? And we'll delve more deeply into their particular reasoning for this. All right? They do mean per month. They mean per month. All right? And we'll explain why. Because we're going to get into the cost of a basic but decent life. So Grand Bahama, we're going to go with unless someone from the Public Policy Institute wants to tell me that that was not an error. Grand Bahama, we're going to go with $3,550 per month. All right? Net $3,400. And it has to be per month, because if it were annually, then they would be well below the poverty level. All right? And being in poverty in and of itself means that you're not making what should be a suitable living wage. All right? Now, this says our gross living wage estimate for New Providence is 26% lower than the Grand Bahama living wage estimate, nearly 200% higher than the national minimum wage, 127% higher than the 2013 poverty line, and nearly 75% higher than the minimum wage hike proposed by a local union. Our living wage estimate for Grand Bahama is nearly 300% higher than the living wage, 200% higher than the 2013 poverty line, and 140% higher than the minimum wage hike proposed by a local union. All right? This estimates that we would have on New Providence 20 to 25 full-time work days per month. This estimates that we would have on Grand Bahama and New Providence 40 hours in a work week. This estimates that there would be 1.74 full-time workers per couple on New Providence and 1.69 full-time workers per couple on Grand Bahama. The family size that this is based on would be 4 on both islands. The number of children would be 2. All right? Now, I'm sorry, we got to take a break? Dang, we do. I'm sorry. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
In life, there are always challenges. Today, we find ourselves having to be more self-sufficient, socially aware, and technically savvy. At J.S. Johnson, we are committed to our customers by providing cost-effective insurance solutions. No matter what your insurance needs, we will always be here for you. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com. J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
Hello, sir. Your credit card bill is due. Hello, sir. It's time for your monthly loan payment. Tired of creditors pounding at your door? Sign up for a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank and consolidate your debt into one low monthly payment. What's more, you will also earn interest on a built-in savings account. The pandemic has curbed many freedoms, but at Fidelity, our focus is to help regain your financial freedom. Visit a branch or speak to Fidelity Bank at 356-7764. COVID safety measures in place at all branches. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Everyone should experience a brand new car, but not everyone can afford one. Until now, Bahamas Bus and Truck has the answer. The stylish, spacious, feature-rich, yet affordable Mitsubishi Atrage. Priced at $21,900, including a 3-year warranty, why not come and experience the value that Mitsubishi has built into the Atrage today? Bahamas Bus and Truck, the country's only authorized Mitsubishi dealer. Telephone 322-1722.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
Preparing for a hurricane can make all the difference in safeguarding the lives of family, friends, and neighbors. By knowing what action you should take, you can reduce the effects of a hurricane disaster. Get all the facts of the potential of having insurance, impact-resistant windows, home emergency power, essential supplies, and a lot more before the storm. After the storm, where to purchase building or cleaning supplies, waste disposal, medical care, and more. The Nassau Guardian's Hurricane Guide will help you make sure everyone knows what to do in the event a hurricane approaches. Take advantage of this double insertion opportunity, plus 15 commercials on Star 106 hits. Contact us today at 302-2300. That's 302-2300, or your account executive. Will you be prepared?
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome back to the Revolution here on Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. My name is Juan McCartney. Let me get to actually some of your text, because I don't know if we're going to be able to get through this entire thing today, but we are trying to understand what a living wage in the Bahamas is, and the University of the Bahamas has done research on this. All right, so. And actually, this helps us, all right, because this helps us to better understand how we can launch people out of poverty, all right, and how we can protect those who are the most vulnerable, okay? All right. Now, this says, hey, Juan, is the study stating the livable wage for a family of four is income of $2,625 per month per household or per adult? Per adult, that's important, all right? Per adult. So this is for a working adult. You would consider that, and they consider that there are 1.7 working adults in a household of four in New Providence and 1.74 in New Providence, 1.69 in Grand Bahama. So two people would be making this on New Providence, all right? Or 1.74 persons. I'm sorry, we have a call? Sure, no problem. Call. We can do a call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Revolution.
Hey, good afternoon, Juan. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, buddy. How goes it?
I'm good, buddy. Excellent conversation, by the way. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I remember when Chicago started to engage us as it relates to this when they first came up with it. But what I wanted to add, listening to you, with your contribution, is in order to, in my view, in my humble opinion, in order to make an exercise such as this work, the government can take realistically two approaches, right, based upon the limit of this discussion right now. And that could be just looking at what the cost actually is and seeking to create an environment where the economics are flowing as such, where businesses can maintain, and not only maintain but sustain over an extended period of time. There's some close to this level of living for a minimum standard. Or the government can also seek to address cost concerns, or as you started to point out in one instance, with shipping to the family islands, but they can conduct that exercise across every item of cost in the country and see how they can best accommodate reducing those costs using its abilities and its reach to make it more affordable for Bahamians to survive. That way, the actual cost of or the actual living wage, minimum living wage, could be reduced and make it more comfortable and affordable for those in the business environment, while it simultaneously creates the economic environment. But it comes down to the government at the end of the day creating the economic environment. And one more point, if I can, Juan,
Sure.
before I go.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I've been noticing and I'm wondering, because I'm not hearing anyone talk about it, and this is the opportune time to mention it. I'm wondering if anyone is paying attention to the gas prices at the pumps now. It's almost $5 per gallon, one. It went from 4 something to 5 something to mid 5 range to a little over mid, and it's now $5.98 or something like that. I mean, $4.98 or something like that per gallon. It's amazing. I'm wondering what is going on.
I think one hit 5. You know, I don't know, and I'll. To your second point, I'll admit my limitations. I've tried to figure out why these gas prices fluctuate the way they do, and I've been stonewalled, and so I'll admit my limitations on that.
But Juan, this is crazy considering the times that we are in. This is using this exercise which you were talking about, and what I'm contributing. This is an exact point that the government could use to seek to make it more comfortable for Bahamians to try and thrive and survive in this most difficult time of increases in VAT, increases in cost of services, increases of products in the food stores, in restaurants, et cetera, along with high unemployment, minimum wage, and all this kind of stuff. The government needs to find ways and means by which it can make the environment for its citizens more easy, more relaxing, and more comfortable for us to survive. Thank you. And that leads to mental instability at the end of the day, too, Juan. Thank you for the opportunity, bro.
No, I thank you, Anton, and you make a good point. And we do have to take a break, but we're going to talk about the government in this and why we do this. And his point to gasoline prices specifically raises a larger question of our dependence on motor vehicles on an island that's only about 80 square miles of roads. You know what I mean? Why does everyone have to have a car in Nassau? We'll be back on the other side of this break.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
You're listening to the news at 1 o'clock on the Guardian News Network. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Thank you for tuning in. Here's what's making news at this hour. The government's travel ban for those coming directly from Haiti will remain in effect for another 30 days. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the Bahamas government found it necessary to take this measure given the continuing uncertainties regarding the management of the COVID-19 pandemic in Haiti. It continued saying the government also remains concerned that the government of Haiti still has not accepted the AstraZeneca vaccine offered under the World Health Organization's COVAX facility and has still not put an alternative measure for vaccination in place. The ban took effect on April 12th and was due to expire today. Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar says the recent change in travel protocols that allows fully vaccinated individuals to enter the Bahamas without a RT-PCR test has created a boom in demand for people looking to visit the Bahamas. However, he says that has since been placing a heavy strain on the Travel Health Visa website.
But I know yesterday they had to take the website down just because they were getting so much more hits to the site and inquiries, and they had to improve the infrastructure to accommodate this increased traffic. And so we had to take it down for about an hour or two yesterday just to rebalance, reoptimize our use of the infrastructure. So, but, as we say, that's a good problem to have.
De Aguilar said prior to that change in protocol, there were around 2,000 travel visa applications being made daily. Since then, that number has grown to 5,000.
So we've had to, make adjustments, beef up our manpower, limit the number of days in advance that you could book, but that's not an ideal situation, so we're looking to see how we can mitigate that. But in a short answer to your question is, yes, there's been an explosion in the number of persons applying to the website, whereas before, it used to be about 2,000 a day. It's probably double that now to about 5,000 a day.
Still no update on last month's Jerome Avenue shooting that left 6 men dead. According to Police Press Liaison Assistant Superintendent Ali Peters, police are doing their due diligence with this investigation.
Well, what we want to say to members of the families or the victims of the families victims as well, that the officers are doing everything that they can to bring the right person to justice, not speculate or insinuate or cast any aspersions on anyone. Because at the end of the day, what we're looking for is justice, the right person being held responsible for the crimes that are being committed. And in most instances, it takes us time for us to get the right person and the evidence that is admissible in court. We're not here to please or quail public furor, but to get the facts to present a prima facie case to get a conviction at the end of it.
Last month, just 2 hours after the 6 men were released from police custody, according to Police Commissioner Paul Roll, the men were gunned down at the intersection of Jerome Avenue and Chesapeake Road. A 19-year-old woman and 2-year-old girl were also injured during the incident, but survived. Peters once again urging members of the public with information to come forward.
You're well aware that we work on the consensus of members of the public, and our success in this instance will be determined by individuals coming forward who may have information, because we live in a small community. Somebody knows something. It's everyone's responsibility.
Progressive Liberal Party Chairman Fred Mitchell is accusing Prime Minister Hubert Minnis of making excuses for his government's performance in office thus far. On Monday, Minnis told reporters his government lost 3 of its 4 years to disasters, naming Hurricane Irma in 2017, Hurricane Dorian in 2019, and the COVID-19 pandemic.
You can blame everything in the stars, but Shakespeare said it best. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in the stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. there's only one person to blame, and that's him. His mismanagement of his government has nothing to do with COVID or nothing to do with Dorian. IMF, it's Minnis' fault.
Mitchell said the FNM was elected to govern and that no amount of excuses can make up for what he called its poor performance.
Excuse after excuse after excuse. But all it is bad management, bad governance. Came to office, didn't know what he was doing, and tripled the problem by having these things which fell upon him, which happens to governments. But that's not an excuse for being able to run the country properly.
And Deputy Prime Minister and Public Works Minister Desmond Bannister has dismissed calls from the United Nations human rights experts to halt the demolition of the Farm Road shantytown on Abaco and said plans are in place to begin a similar exercise on your Providence very soon. Jasmine Brown has more.
It has come to a point where we have to decide whether we're going to have a society like the Bahamas or we're going to have a society like Haiti. And any of you have been to Haiti, you'll see what happens there. Dirt, garbage, shanty houses all over the place. We have to decide if that's what we want.
Bannister was responding to a recently released statement from a group of United Nations human rights experts who argue that the forced evictions and demolitions would force residents into homelessness and extreme poverty.
If those folks want to make a statement about the Bahamas, then we could, I think as a country, as we are deporting people, if they want them to come to their neighborhood and put a shantytown in their neighborhood, that's what you should ask them. How would they feel if in their neighborhood there's a shantytown with feces going in the groundwater, with the potential for people to get sick, with all the other challenges where you go on your land and someone is out there putting up a shantytown house?
Bannister says not taking action could have serious consequences.
Consequences of me not doing my job is that we could have a spread of E. coli in Abaco. Innocent people, the water in Abaco may be contaminated and people could be sick. We could have the constant, widespread enemy in our country where people decide that they're going to go on other people's land and take it over.
The government started demolishing illegal unoccupied structures in the farm last month. Bannister said the only structures that will be demolished are those that were built since Hurricane Dorian. A 2018 Supreme Court injunction prohibits the government from demolishing shantytown structures that had already been constructed and prohibits anyone from constructing, erecting, or altering unregulated shantytown buildings anywhere in the Bahamas.
I have a number of complaints from Bahamians who are saying that when they go to their property now, they're meeting shanty houses. We are going to have to conduct an exercise in New Providence.
45 incomplete and unoccupied structures in the farm community were demolished more than 2 weeks ago. Last week, Bannister said the remaining occupied structures will be demolished. He said the government is merely trying to protect the health and well-being of Bahamians and residents. Insert. Bannister says that demolition exercise will be happening very soon. Reporting for Guardian News Network, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And that's what's making news at this hour here on the Guardian News Network. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Have a great afternoon.
Wait, why you look so mashed up like clothes at the washer?
No, wait, just a hard day. Wait.
Hard day? What happened? The breakfast lady ran out of tuna and gritty.
We need to start joking with everything, you know. This serious, boy. This real serious, boy.
Wait, what's serious? Tell me.
All right, well, today, boss gave us, boy, one big contract. And nobody else get a chance and nobody say nothing.
Boy, you know that ain't right. You know government contracts ain't supposed to go that way.
Yeah, but nobody's saying nothing. Boss man just tell people to sign the papers. Then he send me to meet this boy downtown and collect this envelope.
You need to tell somebody. You need to become a whistleblower.
You know I's a real man, but I never blow no whistle. I be drunk all my life and junk.
No way. A whistleblower is someone who tells people what they see when they see something wrong happening at work.
But I ain't no whistleblower, and I ain't no snitch. I still white there, you know.
But ain't nobody can know it's you. All you gotta do is call Crime Stoppers, or you could text them from inside the Crack Crime Bahamas app. They don't ask about you, and your call goes straight through to Miami, so nobody know you is. And if you text, your message get mixed up like Kong Salad.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau, or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Revolution here on Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. My name is Juan McCartney. We're talking a living wage, and we're talking about what that means. I want to correct something that I said. I'm sorry. I spoke incorrectly. This living wage is for the household. So we're not multiplying it by number of working adults in the household. The living wage is for the household. So let me reset that. I apologize. I spoke incorrectly, okay? So for New Providence, our living wage after NIB union deductions, $2,500 per month per household of 4 people. On Grand Bahama, our living wage per month per household, $3,400, okay? For a family of 4. Now, I know you may not think that's realistic, but I'm going to just tell you how we got here, all right? And in a minute, I'll be happy to take your texts and calls because I'm not going to be able to get through the entirety of the survey, but I'm going to explain to you what accounts for this and what they believe it costs to have a decent living wage. But first, let us explain 2 things. Let us explain how they got the majority of this data. All right, the official sources, and then I would go into you to explain the other ways they got the data, but which is quite specific, which would put us way over our time. But they said they used primary and secondary data sources to calculate these estimates. The information collected from secondary sources provided research context, guided fieldwork explorations, and generated input for certain calculations relative to the living wages. All right? Secondary data sources included the 2020 University of the Bahamas Housing Registry, the 2019 Labor Market Information Newsletter, the 2017 Labor Force Report, the 2016 Government of the Bahamas Salary Book, the 2013 Occupations and Wages in the Accommodation and Food Service Activities Industry, New Providence, the 2013 Household Expenditure Survey, the 2013 Housing Expenditure Survey Report, the 2013 Bahamas Building Codes 3rd Edition by the Bahamas Ministry of Environment and Housing, the 2010 Bahamas Population and Housing Census, and the 2003 to 2004 Occupations and Wages Report. Primary data sources included fieldwork expeditions on New Providence and Grand Bahama. All right? The field research was conducted from October 29 to March 2020. Field work included collecting prices for food items in the model diet, which I disagree with their model diet, how y'all Bahamians eat. It says we surveyed a total of 14 stores across New Providence and Grand Bahama. The size of the stores varied from mini-mart or convenience stores to large chain grocery stores to wholesalers. In total, they collected 700 different food prices, all right? And they used a weighted model average. They also looked at housing conditions, etc. And we're going to get into it, okay? Before I go any further, let me say this. And the texture had said earlier, we got this living wage thing from the states. Let me explain where this comes from according to the Government and Public Policy Institute. Eurocentric origins of the living wage concept extend back to Plato, Aristotle, and St. Thomas Aquinas. To all my Pan-Africanists, I'm sure you can cite me other places that this concept that originated that are not Eurocentric, but that's where they went with it. They all argue that wages should enable households to be adequately cared for and self-sustaining. In the early 20th century, the United Nations in 1992 declared the living wage a basic human right. It says that a worker's wage should meet the needs of workers and their families, considering the general level of wages in the country, the cost of living, Social Security benefits, and the relative standards of other social groups. Should consider economic factors, including the requirements of economic development, levels of productivity, and the desirability of attaining and maintaining a high level of employment. The most comprehensive definition of the parameters of a living wage in modern history have been defined by former International Labor Organization senior economist and living wage expert Richard Anker. He defines a living wage as remuneration received for a standard work week by a worker in a particular place sufficient to afford a decent standard of living for the worker and their family. Elements of a decent standard of living include food, water, housing, education, healthcare, transport, clothing, and other essential needs, including provision for unexpected events. And I know you want to I know where you want to go here, and I know you want to chip in, but I know you want to call and all this. Let me just say this, and then we could kind of expand our conversation from here without delving too deeply into the weeds. Here's what their construct is of a basic, decent life on New Providence in the Bahamas. And here's where they got that number. Gross, $2,625, New Providence. Gross, $3,550, Grand Bahama. They calculate that food costs per month for a family of 4 on New Providence at $1,150. We're going to go through New Providence first. The model diet cost per month for the reference family, all right? Anyway, I won't get into that. Let's just say $1,150. And in that, they calculate food cost per person per day at $10 in the family, all right? They calculate government food programs, such as a lunch program for kids, which not all kids are in, but fair enough. And they arrived at the $1,150 for food costs per month. Housing costs per month, okay? They calculate at $650 on New Providence. Basic, decent life. $650 per month on New Providence, all right? Rent for acceptable housing, they go $400. Utility costs and minor repairs, $250, all right? This puts the non-food, non-housing costs per month at $2,200, all right? So, total cost per month for basic but decent living standard for reference family, we're going to say $4,400. Well, see, now the Public Policy Institute is confusing me now because they say that it's $2,600 per household, but this says worker. Anyway, we'll try to figure it all out. I apologize for any confusion. Total cost per month for basic but decent living standard for reference family, because I asked the Public Policy Institute to be clear, and they said it was per household $2,625. But clearly, this would mean that the gross living wage for people would be $2,625. All right? Anyway, total cost per month for basic but decent living standard for reference family on New Providence, $4,400 per month. Okay? Hold on, let me do some math here. I think I see what happened. Hold on. Let's do the math. Let's you and I do the math together. Get out your calculator. Your phone has one. All right? If we're saying that the basic standard of living per household per month is $4,400, when we multiply that by $4,400, we multiply that by 1.74 adults. All right. Okay. Gotcha. So we're saying that the gross living wage per month per person should be $2,625. And if we multiply that by the 1.7 working adults in the household, they would together be able to come up with the $4,400. Okay, now I am clear. All right. Are you clear, or do I need to go back through that with you? All right. So we're operating off that the basic living wage per person needs to be gross $2,625 on New Providence to meet the basic living standard of the household of $4,400. Now, Public Policy Institute, why y'all tell me something different when your paper saying what I thought it said? But anyway, that's New Providence, $4,400. Let's go Grand Bahama. Food costs per month for reference family on Grand Bahama, $1,550. Housing costs per month, Grand Bahama, $900. That includes utilities. Non-food, non-housing costs per month, $2,800 for a total of $5,750 for the household. All right? And they're going off 1.69 persons. And how we calculate our math, how we make sure our math is right, is we do the same calculation on the Grand Bahama side to see that we're not crazy. So if you're saying that the average person in Grand Bahama should bring home $3,400 a month, and there are 1.7 persons in that household making $3,400 a month, that would add up to $5,750. Yes, okay, good. That's our math. So we're talking $5,750 per household on Grand Bahama, $4,400 per household on New Providence. That means the working living wage would need to be, for an employee, $2,625 on New Providence, $3,550 on Grand Bahama. Okay, good. We're clear. You know, sometimes you read something and you understand it and you confuse yourself, so you ask somebody and they confuse you further, but you'll find your way back. We're back now. I'm back now. I hope you are with me. All right? So $4,400 per household for basic, decent life on New Providence. $5,750 per household on Grand Bahama. Your basic living wage for New Providence, according to the Government Public Policy Institute, should be $2,625 per working adult, $3,550 on Grand Bahama. Now, let's do some more math here, and I'll get to your phone call. If you are making, for a basic, decent standard of life on New Providence, you make $2,625 gross. All right, let's multiply that by 12. So you need to be making, for a basic, decent standard of life on New Providence, $31,500 as a worker. For basic standard of decent life on Grand Bahama, you need to be making gross $42,600 per month. So how are y'all doing? Are y'all making a basic, decent, standard living out there? Do you agree with the Government and Public Policy Institute? All right. I'm happy to take your calls and answer texts and what have you. 323-6232, 325-4316, and 325-4259. Good afternoon. Welcome to The Revolution.
Hello, Mr. Juan. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I want you to know that we appreciate you during the pandemic and all that, man. Like, yeah, you stand up for us, and we really appreciate you. All the best to you on the journey.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, this topic you're talking about is so important because living, you gotta live outside.
No.
But back in the day, you know, everyone used to have a house, and most of the children used to stay home and one pay the light bill, one pay the water bill, and all the good stuff. I think we need to start going back to the old days where we all pitch in, do some things together, help each other out, and then it'll be an ease on everybody. Because most of us are leaving home anyway. If we out there in the workplace, we are leaving home.
Yeah,
So
you make a good point.
therefore, if we could just help each other, that'd be great. Another thing I want you to know is that we look up to you because we respect your opinion. So later on in the week, when you are not mad anymore about not being on the debate thing, go and look at it and see what the young people had to offer, and let us know what you saw about it, and let's hear your feedback. And all the best to you. Have fun.
Okay, I will try to take a look at it a little later this week. I shall. All right. Okay, so let's deal with some text messages. Yes, so you asked if it's $2,625 per month per household or per adult. This research says that, again, I want to be perfectly clear. All right, it's $4,400 for a decent, basic family to live per month on New Providence. All right? It's $5,750 for a household to live a decent, basic standard of life on Grand Bahama, which means that your living wage per adult will be gross $2,625 before any salary deductions. Gross $3,550 on Grand Bahama. All right. They say they calculate 1.74 persons in the household would be working adults. On New Providence, 1.69 in Grand Bahama. So that's how we do that math. All right. Now, let's deal with some text. It says, hi, Juan, $1,800 per month is a reasonable living wage to me. Food alone will eat at least $800 of that with these outrageous prices in the food stores. Light, water, housing, rent will take the rest easy. So you think $1,800. I'd like your opinions on what is a basic standard of living of wage. This says, Juan, please clarify, should the housing cost be $400 per month per person for housing on New Providence? That's rent or mortgage of $800 per month. All right, let's do our math here so that we're clear. Okay. It is $400 per working adult. Okay, that's where we are. So $400 per working adult would get us to the number that we're at. All right? If we're doing our math. Let's do the same thing with Grand Bahama. All right? Food costs, $1,550 in the household. We're going to look at $2,800 and non-food costs. And then we're going to do $900. All right? And then another $900. And that's your housing. And we do get to our number. All right? Minus 2. Yeah. Okay. This says the F&M's, what does it say? The F&M reign of power beginning in 1992 when they first came to power. Hurricane Andrew flattened South Florida, then Dorian, all disasters occurring under the F&M's watch. Perhaps God's trying to tell the electorate something. All right. And this is such interesting stuff. I'd love to talk to Les V. Archer. When I started working as a manager at Atlantis, I barely made $2,500 without the help of family living rent-free, sharing food in the home. I never would have saved up any money. I still cannot afford to buy my own home with my husband without help from my family. Yes, it's a challenge. This is one of my reasons for saying $1,000 monthly, because realistically, no one will pay their housekeeper, pump attendant, gardener, cashier, or grocery man more than $250 weekly. It says, Juan, I survive on $670 a month. $1,000 would be welcome. Personally, if my medical or health care was better or free, I would really not need the money. And that is such a great point. We need to, and Anton raised this point. And so what Anton said is the government needs to find solutions to make the cost of living more bearable. Now, previously, when we talked about the social safety net, we talked about contributory factors that you contribute directly to that makes your life easier to live. And then we talked about non-contributory elements that make your life easier to live that you contribute to not through your salary, but through taxes. Okay? So, for instance, and this was something that again, I didn't watch the debate, and I don't want to criticize it, but I heard one particular person say something elsewhere, and they say, okay, well, in our plan, healthcare in the Bahamas is going to be free. Okay. So if you understand it, right, we're bankrolling socially subsidized healthcare in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to the tune of, give or take $400 million a year, right? That is something that, whether you know it or not, has made your cost of living go down. Okay? A lot of people wouldn't be able to make it if you weren't able to access the clinics, all right? If you weren't able to access some of the free healthcare resources that we often have, if you had a government that was doggedly pursuing you for the unpaid bills at the Princess Margaret Hospital, you would have problems, okay? If you are a public servant, you get a certain level of free health care, okay? We have benefit programs that make prescription drugs easier to afford, and so there are ways that the government does make your life easier to live and more livable. Anton raised the point about gasoline. How many of you would be able to survive that much easier if we had a properly regulated, operated, affordable public transportation system on New Providence? I say New Providence because our geography is different than Grand Bahama, Abaco, etc. How much money would you save in fuel costs? Okay, so when I was in university, right, before I had a car, you would they had a regulated bus system, all right? The university town was near to Oklahoma City. It was, not as large as New Providence, but it was still a large area, okay, in Oklahoma. And the bus pass cost about $35 a month. Now, this was a long time ago, so maybe it's maybe double that now. Let's say it costs $60 per month now, right? And I could catch the bus anywhere and transfer anywhere and go anywhere. And I had no need to worry about a car payment or gasoline prices or maintenance or car insurance or any of that. And so it was a cost that didn't arise that made it that much easier to live. Ultimately, you want a car, you want to date, you understand. Go places at your leisure without having to wait on a bus schedule. But if we had a regulated bus system on New Providence, much better than it is now, no offense to any of the bus drivers out there, but we don't have a uniformly regulated public transportation system. If we did, how much easier would it make life for people on New Providence? So that is where you look at, as a government, How much are people spending on this, and what kind of investment can we make to bring down this cost on people, this burden on people, so that it is that much better to live here? These are the areas that you look at as a government and trying to help. All right? So the government looks at healthcare and they go, what more investment can we make in healthcare that makes it easier, that makes it less of a burden on people? And so the government goes, okay, well, people have a problem accessing healthcare at a certain level on the Family Islands. They have to travel to New Providence to get certain levels of healthcare. It's an investment that the government makes in order to make life easier. So we put a mini hospital on Exuma. Y'all never fully opened it, but that's a different story. So we put clinics on Eleuthera, etc., because we know there's a serious population center there. We could look at different areas and do different things. So, for instance, Crooked Island and Acklands are very near to each other. So you could choose one of them to put healthcare services on, and that would make life easier for them not to have to come to New Providence. You look at what the government is currently doing. If you want to give the FNM kudos, although government should do this, they open satellite passport offices in different islands, so you don't have to come to New Providence in order to get that service. When we look at the banking sector, we are leaving lots of people unbanked in the country. So the government has to ask itself, where do I make this investment with my limited resources to improve people's lives in this area? Because it is a problem. Because as you know, if you have a brain, you cannot do business not in the current environment, without a bank. All right? If you open a business, where are you going to keep your cash? You keep it on you. People may rob you. People may steal it. There may be a fire. You keep it in the bank, right? It's easy to do business. So the government has to figure out where it wants to invest. Now, we've had the central bank, which is independent of the government, but it has been supported by the government in this, in launching the sand dollar. And let me tell you, as badly as we talk about our Bahamas, right? This is one of the best things that we've ever done. I'm not saying that to clout chase. All right? It can revolutionize how we bank. All right? It can take us from where we are now, where we stand outside long lines at banks to cash checks and everything like that, and get, listen to me. If you're a construction worker out there, if you're a laborer out there, right? You don't have to go to the bank to go cash your check every week in the next few years if we do this thing right. You're going to get your sand dollar account. It's going to be linked to your digital wallet on your phone. The money's going to go right in there. You'll have it, right? You can take your digital wallet. You can go scan your QR code. You can go get your, go to a liquor store, get... Anyway, let me not go there. You can buy different goods and services without having to get cash, without having to cash a check, etc. So we're looking at, we want this information, and we want this is what a university is for, right? To gather data to help us understand how the government can construct policy that will make our lives better. All right, we go to a phone call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Revolution. Hello, good afternoon.
Got 3 days and what's along with you, Juan?
Yes, hello.
Juan.
Yes.
What I think needs to happen, right, is the government needs to find a way to be producing. Because what they're going to do, if they don't find a way to produce, or to start producing, then they're going to tax us to death.
I see. What should the government produce?
Oh, well, they are in power. They should find the way to grow the country.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, that's kind of nebulous, but okay. I hear you. I don't know if you've thought that one fully through, but okay. Good afternoon. Welcome. And are you talking in terms of a resource that the government would produce? I'm not sure. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Revolution.
Juan, I don't feel good about calling back.
But yet you do so frequently. You must not feel that badly about it.
You got me there.
Go ahead.
Okay. Man, why you couldn't let me slide under the rug? Anyway, look, what you were talking about, Juan, and I'm surprised that the Bahamian public isn't involved in this conversation more deeply, because these are the kinds of conversations that actually develop proper policy, and that lets the government know that, look, we are not asleep at the wheel as citizens in our country, and we are prepared to participate at academic levels in order to get the results that we need. And like you pointed out, our disadvantage in this instance, and not only as it relates to the economy, but having research facilities and minds and having these groups who can produce these kinds of exercises, we are at a disadvantage at the university level because we only have one, whereas these other countries around the world, they have 40, 50, and hundreds who can help them to produce these studies. But this is what is necessary level. I mean, this is what is necessary, one, across the entire government spectrum to produce the studies that are necessary that would guide government decisions and let them know how they need to make informed decisions over whatever 5, 10, 15, 20-year period where we can truly develop this national plan for the advancement of our country. That's all I wanted to add. I thank you very much, Juan, for the opportunity. God bless.
All right. Thanks, buddy. I don't just have to keep. I'm sorry. I've been dominating the conversation with my thoughts, but you can chime in as well. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Says, hey, Juan, the cost of rent, land, and mortgage is so much cheaper in Grand Bahama than New Providence. Groceries are basically the same. I'm surprised by that $3,000 figure. And we could get into the weeds, but we don't have time. And I'd love to have Leslie Archer on to talk about their methodology because they detailed it very much so in the report. Yeah. This is Juan. The gas has nothing to do with the FNM, the world events, especially the war, contributing to the raise in oil. Stop allowing Anton to run on with foolishness. I mean, I didn't allow him anything. I'm not blaming the FNM for the gas prices. Someone had sent me some information that there was a cyber attack, and I remember hearing about that. There was a cyber. Let me see if I get the link here. Yeah, fuel shortages crop up in Southeast. Gas prices climb after pipeline hack. Colonial Pipeline, biggest fuel pipeline in the U.S., delivering about 45% of what is consumed on the East Coast, was hit on Friday with a cyber attack by hackers who locked up computer systems and demanded a ransom to release them. Boy, y'all gotta firewall your stuff now. What happens, you know what I'm saying, when they take over the electricity grid or, you know what I'm saying, your defense network. Good afternoon. Welcome to the revolution.
Hi, Mr. McCartney. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Fine. This is Leslie Archer.
Oh, hey, good afternoon. We were just speaking about your comprehensive study here.
I heard.
So I have two questions, just so we're clear, because I had asked someone else at the Policy Institute, and they had told me something different. So you've established that the gross living wage per month for a basic decent life on New Providence is $2,625. Yes?
Right. For a family of four.
For a family of four.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you say here that the total cost per month for basic decent living standard for a family would be $4,400 on New Providence.
Right.
So my math is telling me, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that your ratio, that means that you're saying 1.74 persons in the household would be working at a wage of $2,625 per month to make that $4,400.
Okay, so the ratio of workers is an average based upon the country standard. The likelihood that both parties are actually working full-time is uncommon for a person who make minimum wage and low wage. It's unlikely that both persons will have full-time jobs. So in the Bahamas, in New Providence, it's 1.7. So this $2,625, that's the amount that the full-time worker would need to bring in based upon the ratio.
Gotcha.
That is the 1.7 chance.
Perfect. All right. Next question. In here, you have housing costs per month. Now, when I'm doing my math, right, let me just go through this with you very, very briefly. And I'm so happy you called. $1,150 food costs per month, right?
Right.
Okay. And then we're going to go to housing costs per month, $650. Yes?
That's for, yes, yeah.
Now,
Providence, yeah.
is that the total housing cost for the household? Or is that per working person?
No, that's for the household because when we went into actual people's homes in low-wage areas. So we checked out Mason's Addition. We were in the center of town. We went into these people's homes in families of four, and we asked them, well, how much is the rent that you pay here? And so, like, for example, in Mason's Addition, there were some two-bedroom homes for $400 a month rent.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, well, so what's the electricity cost? Do you pay for water? Do you pay for gas? And those figures together for that family was the amount. Like, interestingly enough, and this was across studies, living wage studies that use this methodology, a two-bedroom house, when you look at the total expenses, is cheaper than a one-bedroom house in New Providence.
Okay.
So it was $650. The $400 was for the rent, and then the $250 was the utilities.
Utility and minor repairs. Okay, so
Right.
we're clear on that. So it's $650 total for the house.
Right.
All right,
If you live
great.
in an area like Mason's Addition.
If you live in
For
an
a
area.
two-bedroom house, yeah.
Right, okay. And so you're considering a basic, decent standard of living. Yes?
Right. And this isn't just something that we subjectively derived in terms of the words basic and decent. We use the international standards for what is considered a decent home and the local standards. For example,
Right.
the local standards mandated that there needs to be a window in each bathroom. If there's a bathroom, it needs to have a window.
Right.
That's considered the acceptable standard. So we went along those lines to determine, okay, well, this is the bare minimum for a house to be considered basic and decent.
Right. And so the house that you went according to building code.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
But we also, obviously, we visited the homes because you don't want to replicate poverty, right? People could say one thing, but we went ourselves, we did the inspections, we take measures ourselves, we measured it to see, okay, is this a bedroom? What is the standard size of a bedroom that's required by law for it to be considered a sleeping bedroom? So we measured their homes to say, okay, this meets the standard. I'm sorry, we can't accept this. This house doesn't meet the standard.
Right. Now, here's the exercise I've been doing. Thank you so much for that. When we look at what the poverty rate is, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And I did a show on this previously. So the poverty rate calculated by the 2013 Housing and Economic Spending Survey was 4,000, if we extrapolate it out yearly, $4,247 per year, right?
I'll go with what you say.
Yeah,
I don't have the yearly figure in front of me. But
We
okay.
went through this meticulously. So
Okay.
now, if we're averaging that out, all right, we are woefully short in terms of two people living at the poverty level being able to afford a basic, decent standard of living. All right?
Yes.
How do we bridge the gap from getting them from poverty to a basic standard living wage? Did we lose her? Oh, boy. Okay. Well, let's take a break, and we'll be back. Hopefully, she can come back, and then we can maybe have her on another time as well. All right. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh crack and sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage egg and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
Buying a home is one of the most important investment decisions you'll ever make, so it's best to insure your home for the full replacement value. If your home is underinsured, the condition of average could apply and reduce the amount you'll receive if you make a claim. Ask your insurance agent about underinsurance and condition of average before you purchase or renew your home insurance policy. For more information, visit www.icb.gov.bs. This message was brought to you by the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas.
Have an outstanding real property tax bill? Take advantage of our Real Property Tax Forgiveness Program. Bring your account to zero and receive a 50% discount on your outstanding tax and surcharge past 180 days. Or get a payment plan. Make a 25% deposit on your outstanding tax, receive a 100% waiver on the surcharge, and pay the difference within 36 months, interest-free. Contact the Department of Inland Revenue at 225-5778 or email us at rptforgive@bahamas.gov.bs. Offer ends May 31st.
The Sourdough King is back at Burger King Nassau. This fan favorite features 2 quarter-pound savory flame-grilled beef patties topped with thick-cut smoked bacon, 4 slices of melted American cheese, ketchup and creamy mayonnaise, all on toasted sourdough slices. Get your sourdough sandwich as a single or a double and add ice-cold Pepsi and fries or onion rings for a perfect way to fill your day. The flame-grilled Sourdough King is only here for a limited time and only available at Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
At Bahamas Bus and Truck Company Limited, we provide vehicles known for quality and durability. From the iconic Jeep Wrangler to the award-winning Grand Cherokee, we've got your everyday driver covered. For larger tasks, our Ram 1500, Mitsubishi Fuso Canter trucks, CMC Verica vans, and Fuso Rosa jitneys do way more than just deliver. We even carry a wide variety of pre-owned vehicles. To keep you going, our parts, service department, and body shop can accommodate our brands and others. Call us today at 322-1722 or email info@bahamasbus.com.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Revolution here on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I did get Miss Archer back, but given that we have so little time left, I'm gonna we can hopefully circle back with her tomorrow, and I'll just read the text messages that I can But she did clarify for us the monthly standard is what we're talking about. All right, the living wage is what the worker should earn. You consider 1.74 of the persons are working full-time to hit the monthly standard of living, all right? Which is $4,400 on New Providence and $5,750 per month on Grand Bahama. It says, blessings to the Bahamas at large. Indeed, every social issue in the Bahamas that is affecting Bahamians and humanity should be of concern to us all. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a very long one. I only have a bit of time. It says, what is the existence level for senior citizens so we don't slowly starve and die? It says, the gas issue is likely to get worse. Hackers shut down the largest pipeline in the U.S., now stationed in the southeast, are running off gas. Because people are purchasing gas like they were purchasing tissue paper last year, so we will feel it here in some shape or form. It says rent for a family of 4 is $400 a month in Nassau. Where? Well, she said Mason's Addition. This is housing costs in Grand Bahama is way off. It says high affordable wages is also based on how long we will wait on the daily fast food drive-through. It says, good day one. Not sure if you said before, but where can one access the study? It's online. It's online. You just Google it. It's called the Bahamas Living Wages Survey. A very quick Google search. It says the lady has a good idea about staying home and sharing expenses. However, some have to relocate to simply live. My home is Grand Bahama, but I have to be in Nassau to survive. Therefore, I have no choice other than to pay bills by myself. Oh, boy. It says no way rent on average is above $800 per month. Now, we're talking basic standard of living. All right? When I live in Grand Bahama, grocery for my family of 3 is just under $300 weekly. It says, I live 2 miles from my house. If I could take a bus or walk, I would do that, but it's unsafe and reliable. You live 2 miles from your house? What does that mean? How do you live somewhere other than your house? Maybe you work 2 miles or something? I don't know. This says McCartney, the Department of Public Policy was on Dwight Strawn 2 months ago. Well, she was just on just now. We can have her back. McCartney, your decision to do a show on livable wage, timely and excellent. I believe as you delve deeply and break it down piece by piece, I really believe this may require more than just one show. All right, thank you. We're going to do it more than one show. We were just unclear on the totals as far as whether the livable wage was for one, and Ms. Archer cleared that up for us. In my wildest dreams, my mortgage would be $800 a month. Hey, when I went to college in Oklahoma, too, small world, University of Central Oklahoma. I went to the University of Oklahoma. One weekly system bills, 1 case of beer, $35, numbers, $60, hair and nails, $60, payday club, $60. Girlfriend, $100, yeah, $30. Our biggest problem is the fact we don't tax in proportion to how one extracts from the economy. It says, very important point you made was that the government has limited resources. It seems as if persons believe that every issue can be fixed overnight. We have to prioritize what is the majority of Bahamians need to live a better life and push ahead with those things rather than constant picketing and complaining over minute issues. It says, hi, Juan, they will never introduce an affordable regulated bus system. The fuel and car businesses and the politically connected bus license plate owners will fight that at every step. This says, gasping on the increase from January when pipelines were shut down by the current USA administration. Okay. Juan, what's the period of that living study? I was trying to help a friend find an apartment. 2 beds are going for approximately $1,000. I can't lease to them because the area is $1,600 to $2,500. Those numbers don't seem to reflect our current indices. It says, when we look at the $4,000 plus per month livable wage, and we realize that the minimum wage in our country is under $1,000 per month per person, it is distinctly clear that we're in trouble, and we have been running away from the fact for about a decade now. It's why we've experienced a sharp rise in our national debt over the past 15 years as the various governments have been carrying the society and the local innovation, small businesses, finding it difficult to get off the ground. These are good points. Oh, you live 2 miles from your work. Oh, okay, that makes sense then. One, public transit needs massive reform as it impacts living wage, cost of living. Some ideas make payment digital or swipe cards, whole contracted drivers, companies accountable for safety, customer service and bus maintenance, clarify the routes and build proper bus depots. We can do it. We just need to be creative thinkers to be brought to the table. All right, excellent. We're out of time. We got to go. Lang shows up next. Sorry I couldn't get to your messages, all of them. Couldn't get to all your calls. And I'm so thankful to Leslie Archer for calling in to clarify for us what they were saying, because they clarified at the conclusion, but then as you walk through it, it says different things. And then I believe there's an error in there about the annual rate as opposed to the monthly rate. But it's very good information, and it's excellent use of university resources to help us better understand how our society functions and where the needs and where the cracks are. All right? We got to get out of here. Shavar Golang's up next with Z Live Off the Record. You guys take care out there and have a great day, Bahamas.